My name is Mathezr Bresak. I am a soldier in the Malonic Liberation Army, seeking to drive out humanity from our homeworld, which they conquered to extend the influence of their empire. We have embraced the qualities of an animal known as a fox that is indigenous to the human homeworld of Earth, because despite humanity's best attempts to kill the foxes in order to protect their livestock, they still manage to thrive off of food stolen from their factory farms. While this strategy has worked thus far, me and my fellow rebels have been driven from our home system to the last bastion of the resistance, the city of Excelsior Citadel, on a terraformed world known as Asykampa Primus, far from the reaches of the Empire of Sol. As we worked to rebuild our army on this new world, we encountered a new alien species, the Oaeq-Mang. As part of a task force to communicate with alien species, I volunteered to board the Oaeq-Mang vessel in an attempt to gain their alliance. If I succeed, we may be able to take back our homeworld of Malonius. I belched aloud as I reclined in my plush chair, massaging my stomach and setting my half-eaten bowl of nuts and shredded cheese on the side table. The Oaeq-Mang have been treating me well. Too well, as I feel like I'm losing my soldierly discipline. I have been aboard their ship for a week now, and they have insisted on giving me their best. They gave me the best of my people's food and drink, sent me entertainment at my request through the intercom system, and clothed me in luxury clothes. In return, if I can even say that since they were so nice, I just had to answer their questions about the Empire of Sol and my people, the Malonics, and even further, the Mathezr civilization, of which I am a direct descendant. So yeah, I've been abducted, but treated like a king. My Oaeq-Mang friend, whom I've nicknamed Cixin because his native name is too long and hard for me to pronounce, brought in another cart filled with even more Mathezr delicacies. Obviously, he did not notice the clutter of dishes and half-eaten portions yet. "Would you like some more shishaks, tubers, Mathezr?" he asked me in broken Mathezr. "Maybe one more plate," I groaned as I handed him a plate. "If you insist." Because my world was restricted to a windowless room in the center of the Oaeq-Mang ship, Cixin and several computers were my only connections to the outside world. Because of this, I tried to treat Cixin well. I'm allowed to communicate with Captain Rareday and my teammates through several computer terminals in my room. But so far, I didn't have much luck convincing the Oaeq-Mang of joining our cause. Hopefully my compliance and hedonism was pleasing the Oaeq-Mang, so they would be more open to my proposals. "Fancy some more tikar pie or hedra ribs?" Cixin pressed. My stomach grumbled, protesting that it was too full to receive even the tubers I forced down my throat, let alone the feast he had brought in. "I don't think that'd be wise," I hinted. Cixin bobbed his head, acknowledging my request, then set to work cleaning my mess of dirty plates and cups. "Cixin," I pressed, setting down my plate and pushing myself from my chair. "Have the Oaeq-Mang decided to help our cause?" Cixin stopped cleaning, sitting down on the filthy floor. "Yes." I was overjoyed. I could finally leave. "Well then, am I free to go?" Cixin paused. "No." "What do you mean, no? I have a rebellion to get back to." "You'll get back, eventually. We've decided to help your rebellion, but in a unique way. We're going to train you and several other soldiers to become the best you can be so you can take back the capital city." I was surprised by this. "The best soldiers we can be?" I asked. "Yes," he elaborated. "We've read about your history in the manifesto which you have written. While you have been successful at hit-and-run attacks and fighting head-to-head, you need innovation. You need to get behind enemy lines, infiltrate the puppet forces of your planet, and maintain your hold on the territory you've taken. Will you accept our help? If not, we shall go on our way." I paused. I was being presented with a berry and a sword. The berry being their aid if I accept this unknown form of training, the sword being they leave us on our own. "I accept," I relented. "Good, we leave for your system tomorrow. You may return to your ship if you wish." He then finished loading my dirty dishes and waste onto his cart. Taking the cart with him, he left me alone in the room. Again. I went to a computer and established contact with Rareday. Captain Rareday, I began, the Oaeq-Mang have accepted our proposal. However, they've decided to train up a special military force to help fight against the humans. Rareday's brow rose and his lower jaw opened. I could tell he was elated about the action. Okay, he said, but we need to get back soon if we're going to mount our counterattack on humanity. The feed then cut. I just had to hope the Oaeq-Mang were willing to train us as fast as possible. Since we fled our strongholds, we had left behind numerous pieces of our once proprietary technology in haste, enabling the humans to reverse engineer our technology and gain the upper hand once again. Once we returned to Excelsior Citadel, the Oaeq-Mang set to training me and several others as fast as possible. Among the recruits for the program were my old teammates Vonorak and Therios, along with 8 other soldiers I've never met before. Instead of the squads of 5 or 6 that made up the foundation of the Malonic Liberation Army, the captain of the Oaeq-Mang ship, Oaeq, as I'll christen him, had insisted that the new type of soldier we were supposed to be, the Imperial Busters, have units composed of 10 soldiers under one squad leader. The chain of command had reluctantly agreed. They first began with strength, agility, and stamina training. Throughout the course of several long, grueling days, we were pushed to our physical limits. At the end of each day, we were rewarded with a large feast of nutrient-rich foods. After gorging myself to quell my hunger pangs, I collapsed into bed, waking up the next morning to repeat the cycle with my comrades. The training of the Malonic Liberation Army was never this intense. After several days of the frenzy of exercise and feasting, the Oaeq-Mang decided we had developed enough strength, agility, and stamina for baseline combat situations. We ran through several obstacle courses and were required to watch workshops about infiltrating behind enemy lines, complex urban combat, and outsmarting our enemy with a group of soldiers. Afterwards, we would each play different roles in simulations. After 3 days of mental and combat training, we returned to physical exercise again to become stronger and more agile. A cycle of 6 days of hard exercise and 3 days of tactical training, with a day of rest between each period, made up our life for the next several weeks. During the periods, I noticed that there were at least 3 different variants of Oaeq-Mang. While all had green scales and 2 antennae, there were substantial differences between them. The majority of them were stocky creatures with dome-shaped heads and protruding green eyes, and a wide mouth. There were some like my friend Thexer, who were sleek and had an elongated cranium, nub-like antennae, a long tentacle at each corner of the mouth, and circular gray eyes. The rarest were broad-torsoed, had egg-shaped heads, and narrow black eyes, while one that I'm not sure is a variant also has sensory tentacles around the edges of their wide mouths. I'm not sure I'll be able to figure them out, but I do know there is something odd about them, and they are unusually clandestine. At the end of 20 cycles, Thexer came to visit me. Oaeq says you're the epitome of a soldier, he told me as he looked me over. He believes that we're ready to lead a counterattack on Osirax within a few days. I was surprised. While I had gotten physically bigger and had dramatically improved in the combat sessions, I was surprised that Oaeq decided that me and my group were ready for an attack on the world capital of our planet. Are you serious? I asked. Yep, Thexer replied. He's preparing to leave tonight on our ship, and has requested that several of your ships accompany him. I was surprised. The Oaeq-Mang were going above and beyond to help us, but I was not sure why. What were they up to? I boarded the transport ship with my comrades. While we wear the same uniforms as our comrades who are not in the Imperial Busters, our well-developed physiques, variation of the soldier's cap, and assaulting flag of the Malonic Liberation Army sewn on our upper right lapel signaled that we are a part of this new group. I looked around at my teammates. There were 11 of us in total. I was unsure if we were going to make it. Cheer up, Mathezr, Vonorak comforted me. It'll be fine. A few hours later, we entered one of our ships, and we cruised to the Stargate. Instantaneously, we appeared right above Malonius. I looked out the window to the surface below. Within a few hours, a battle would be fought that would decide who would control our homeworld. My men and I jumped out of the transport shuttle, pulling the cords on our parachutes. Per the Oaeq-Mang's guidance, we were dropping directly into the city below. We landed on the ground, and we rushed towards the gubernatorial palace on Malonius. The standard infantry of the Malonic Liberation Army was fighting alongside a group of Oaeq-Mang soldiers to distract the forces of the Empire of Sol away from us. As we rushed between high-rises and derelict cars, I just kept thinking about this strategy. Because I had been scarred by the death of my brother the last time I was on Malonius, and our men had lost all our strongholds save Asykampa Primus, I felt unsure about this plan. It was true that the Oaeq-Mang were helpful, but this strategy seemed risky. I just wonder what their motivations are. We soon breached the palace. Several human soldiers turned to face us, firing their rifles. One of them pressed a button on his forearm armor, triggering an alarm that resounded off of the stone walls of the building. When I was studying logistics, I had been inside the palace and was trained in what to do in case there was an emergency. The alarm signaled everyone inside to make it to the evacuation starship, which would head towards the Stargate for Earth in our solar system. I was not going to let Nikor, Hyo, and Anaglatha escape. They would be brought to justice. Zvonarak, Therios, I ordered. Come with me. We're going to board the evacuation starship and keep it from leaving the solar system. Zvonarak and Therios nodded, following me as I rushed through the various hallways. I soon came to the hallway leading to the launch pad, where I saw Anaglatha, Nikor, Rear Takai, the Imperial ministers from Malonius, the crew of the ship, and a horde of soldiers for the Empire of Sol board a large oval-shaped craft. Several muscular four-legged animals with stubby heads pulled cargo up a large ramp into the main cargo hold of the craft, escorted by several hexapods and octopods. Upon seeing the hulking octopods, I was reminded of my late brother. I had been grieving his sacrifice ever since we were defeated at Kesark Bastion, as he had attacked an octopod to ensure the escape of my team. Filled with rage, I swore that I would avenge Semchar. I, Zvonarak, and Therios crept behind the many crates of the landing pad for the escape ship. Once we were in front of the cargo loading ramp, we charged towards it. Just as we closed half of the distance, the fusion engines of the craft powered on, sending light blue flame out rotatable nozzles on its wings. I jumped up to grab the raising cargo ramp, with Therios joining me. Although Zvonarak attempted to join us, he fell to the ground, as he was heavier than either of us. I and Therios pulled ourselves over the ledge of the ramp, rolling down it into the cargo bay. Once inside, we began to navigate the craft. Several hexapods and octopods were kept in large, cryogenic tanks, kept dormant until they received a signal to be deployed. The labyrinthine hulls of the vessel sent us into several firefights with the Imperial soldiers. Eventually, we made it to the bridge. Nikor, Anaglatha, Rear Takai, and the captain of the vessel turned to face us. "Guards!" Nikor screamed. "Open fire!" I dove behind a large AMOLED screen, powering my microwave rifle on. I aimed at the several guards approaching us, firing invisible streams of energy at them. On the other side of the bridge, Therios was doing the same. Without their protectors, we made our move towards Nikor and Anaglatha. The captain of the vessel raised his pistol and pulled the trigger. I dove out of the way and returned fire. With the heads of the Malonic puppet government isolated on the bridge, the two of us approached them. Nikor took a step back, intimidated by my presence. I aimed my rifle at him and pulled the trigger, sending a beam of microwave energy into his paunch. He doubled over as the fat began to melt and expand, stretching his undershirt before his torso ruptured. As he lay bleeding out, I emptied the rest of my magazine into Anaglatha. Unlike the humans, who usually executed or punished individuals for their crimes through prolonged torture or excessively gruesome methods, I was going to make the deaths of Nikor and Anaglatha swift, since too much energy has been expended on them already. I saw Rear Takai develop a frightened expression on his face, As he reached for a pistol on a computer terminal, I shot it out of his way with my rifle. Even though Rear Takai was Nikor's right hand, I felt I should spare him since he had lobbied for my placement as Nikor's logistical chief before I joined the Malonic Liberation Army. Albeit a small task to some, my temporary residence inside the palace had enabled me to navigate it today and bring justice to Malonius. Rear Takai, I began, there's no need to be afraid. I'm not going to kill you. Rear Takai developed a look of relief on his face. I do want you to turn this ship around and turn yourself and the others aboard over to the Malonic Liberation Army. After you see how we've liberated our solar system and the other Malonic colonies, I'm sending you back to the Renda Emperor to tell him he's met his match, and he made a mistake invading our planet. Even though Rear Takai trembled, I knew he would be compliant. He took the helm of the ship and flew it towards the combined fleet of Oaeq-Mang and Malonic ships, sending a message that the puppet government had surrendered. It has been 2 months since the Battle of Osirax. Malonius and the other Malonic colonies are free from the oppression of humanity. In that time, I have been promoted to the rank of sub-chief, in charge of a whole force of Imperial busters that comprised thousands of Malonics. We sent Rear Takai back to Earth today, and I had just returned to Malonius. As soon as I was in Osirax, Mathezr summoned me to the palace, now converted into the headquarters of the Malonic Liberation Army. He and Chief Kebram, the leader of the Malonic Liberation Army on Asykampa Primus, who had become our leader after the death of Toriaz Marak, stood in front of a large CRT display. On it, I saw a planet. As I looked at it closer, I soon realized it was a real-time feed of Earth, the capital of the Empire of Sol. You have impressed us both, Mathezr told me. Because your team has demonstrated such skill in defeating the occupied worlds of the Empire of Sol, we're sending you into the belly of the beast. You will go to New Xanadu, the capital city of the Empire of Sol, and demand that the Renda Emperor himself surrenders. We have contacted other Malonic rebel factions who have also been successful in liberating other planets, and we're going to join forces to end this conflict once and for all. I turned my gaze back to the CRT screen. In a few days, we would head right to the seat of power for the Empire of Sol. If we were successful, we could swiftly win the war, but if we lost, all our progress would be undone.